First analyst George Eche Obiokoye. It's good to have you in the studio, George.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, now we begin with taking a look at some of the stories making their headlines on ABS website. Let's see stories on ABS website. Training of teachers on strengthening English proficiency commences in Oka. Anambra State government urges traditional rulers to avoid contravening state traditional rulers law. Anambra Police Command reassures of effective security of life and property. These are some of the stories trending on ABS website. All right, which one are you taking?
Yeah, the training of teachers on strengthening of English proficiency is a very good move by the state government because for some time now there has been concern that the younger generation may not be as fluent and updated on the English language. So it's very important that while our younger people are learning our local dialect, Igbo, it's also good that they are well trained on English proficiency. So it's kudos to the state government and the Ministry of Education for emphasizing on English proficiency, because no matter how we look at it, English remains the lingua franca of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it's a good one.
All right, let's move. We take a look at the first paper for review now. The Nigerian Tribune. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the Nigerian Tribune. Ibadan explosion, victims recount ordeal, 58 houses damaged, foreigners listed as owners of mining company. We have riders there, 3 dead, 60 out of 77 injured, discharged. Perpetrators must be fished out. Tinubu CAC certificate of a mining company indicted for the explosion shows some foreign names. Makinde FEC raises committee to review laws on explosives. Those living within 250 meters of incident to temporarily relocate as government conducts integrity tests on buildings. Emergency situation room set up. Okay, still on the Nigerian Tribune, we have NEC approves electricity tariff increase for discos, retained subsidy, says FG to pay 1.62 trillion naira differentials in 2024. KRA fuel subsidy removal has eliminated cross-border smuggling of oil products. CBN unearths forex transaction abuses in clearing liabilities backlog. And kidnapping, FEC warns against crowdfunding to pay ransom. We have read there, blames FCT insecurity on fleeing bandits from Northwest, North Central. I don't know whether we are going to look at that story because, yes, from Monday, stories concerning what has been happening in cities, big cities in Nigeria like Abuja, has been trending in our papers, you know, how bandits now go to houses to abduct individuals. And that prompted the federal government to set up a meeting, the security agency set up a meeting, and of course the FCT minister also set up a meeting. And now they are talking about, you know, federal government or Federal Executive Council warning individuals not to crowd fund to pay ransom. And you begin to, you know, our people, how important human beings are to people, that if it's your son, you will do anything within your powers to ensure that he's released safe or sound. So what do you have to say concerning this warning from the Federal Executive Council of Nigeria?
The warning from the Federal Executive Council is very timely because right from the inception of his administration, President Bola Tinubu has placed a lot of emphasis on security. And there used to be a vacuum in addressing some of these issues. But the way he summoned the FEC and they released those tips on how to manage such a situation, I think the FEC is in order. Kidnapping will soon be a thing of the past if those tips by the federal government are followed, because the security agencies,
and exactly that's the point. One thing is actually giving instructions on what to do, but like I said earlier, that any family that their own is kidnapped will try to do anything within their powers to ensure that their person is released, sound. So in this issue of co-funding to release, do you think people will actually adhere to it when the life of their loved one is at stake?
Yeah, well, it will be, many people will not want to adhere to it, but I think the government's position is that of a genuine interest. So I'll urge people to follow this directive by the government so that they don't fall into the hands of the plans of the kidnappers themselves. Yes.
All right, let's see. The Daily Independent newspaper, let's see stories making their headlines in front of the Daily Independent. Ibadan blasts. FG raises committee to investigate breach of explosives control law. We have riders there. Culprits of incident must be fished out, punished. That's coming from the president. Others, security agencies to stop banditry, kidnapping. Firm that stored explosives known will face the law. That's coming from the governor of Oyo State, Makinde. FG condemns crowdfunding for payment of ransom. Again, bandits invade Niger community, kill 1, abduct 9. I don't know, can we look at that story of Ibadan blast? When it's actually, we woke up, I think, 2 days ago to hear of that blast. And at that time, the number of casualties were not ascertained. And this morning, I think a lawmaker in Ibadan was crying that he no longer has a house where the family can stay. So they have ascertained the number of casualties. There were buildings affected and all whatnot. So what do you have to say?
Well, the Ibadan blast is a very unfortunate incident. And I pray that God will comfort the families of everybody that was affected. I also want to say that the state governor, Governor Makinde, and President Tinubu, they have really been on top of the situation. And it's always reassuring when elected officials are showing sympathy and moving in to help do the investigations and solve the problem. There is something that was said there that the firms that store the explosives will face the law. It is very important because there is no way such an amount of dangerous explosives will just be stored without government knowing and in a civilian area. It's not like it was in a military setting. So it's very important for those people that store explosives to face the music, because look at the havoc they've caused. So many people lost their lives, properties, roads damaged and everything. So I thank the government for moving in, and I'm also hearing that some of the victims will be compensated, which is a very good move.
All right, the Punch newspaper is next in our lineup, and Ibadan explosion. I think that's taking its shape in front of virtually all the papers we're looking at. You can see the wreckages from the explosion in front of the Punch newspapers. And of course, the governors and other stakeholders have visited the scene to ascertain the level of damage done. And away from that Ibadan explosion, let's see, abductions. FG faults Nigerians crowdfunding to pay ransom. We've seen that story before. CBN to tackle forex infractions with heavy sanctions. Government suspends electricity tariff hike. Power subsidy hits 1.6 trillion. FG6 $1.5 billion loans to shore up Naira, boost budget. Ondo and Moteko arrest 19 kidnappers, 17 others. Student loan begins January as federal government opens website soon. Okay, I don't know which of the stories will you be looking at. Is it the federal government seeking another loan? And I don't know. Yesterday here we saw where foreign nations, were asking that about 8-point-something billion or so that they recovered, Nigerian money recovered there, should be brought back. And somebody on this set was actually saying, why don't we use that money when they bring it back? Why don't we use it to, do so many things that will help us to step down on so much borrowing in this nation?
Well, the issue there is that it's not a problem of borrowing. Sometimes you might need to borrow money to finance a lot of projects.
Sometimes, because you know the problem Nigerians were having, because this borrowing from the previous administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has been borrowing, and immediately this administration came in, it's sounding like as if it's now a cycle to keep borrowing and borrowing. Must we keep borrowing and borrowing?
The truth is that the last administration borrowed a lot of money. So for me, I feel this new administration is still in their grace period. Maybe after a year, we can now judge some of the things they borrowed the money for, whether they are actually on ground. Because the truth is that borrowing is not all that bad, but you have to show results. The last administration, you see what is happening with the Emefiele.
And I don't even know how many times we've seen on the pages of papers that we borrowed 2 million last month, that we've repaid the 2 billion we borrowed last month before we talk about making another borrowing. I don't know whether we have seen that before on the pages of newspapers in this country. And I think, don't you think that is important to accountability, transparency, to let Nigerians know that what we borrowed previously has been repaid, so that when we go to borrow another one, people will not be like, oh, everyday borrowing, everyday borrowing.
When are we going to pay back? I think it's a good idea.
All right, let's move on. The Daily Trust newspaper is next in our lineup. Security agencies infiltrated by fifth columnist, a Plateau governor speaking, sabotaging prompt response to distress calls. Many have no legitimacy to remain in service. We'll study the allegations coming from the military. Okay, how illegal mines, explosives wreaked havoc in Ibadan. Residents flee 10 Zamfara communities after bandit threat. Okay, I think let's look at The Guardian before we start the analysis. Outrage as about the explosion exposes illegal mining, weak regulations. You can also see other stories. Naira falls to 1,320 per dollar amid uncertainty over MPC status. Crowd forecast, Nigeria may borrow more to sustain discos, GENCOs, and NEC adjusts tariff. And 36 oil firms record $425 billion windfall in 24 months, says report. Abakoba sustainable on new constitution. All right, that's the much you can take. So let's take a look at some of the stories from the Daily Trust and the Guardian newspapers. All right.
The statement by the Plateau State Governor that security agencies are infiltrated by fifth columnists. It's a very weighty statement, and it's something that needs to be investigated thoroughly. because you know that the Plateau, the just crisis, right from when I was a kid, I was hearing it until today, that problem has not been solved. So I'll urge the government to look into the allegations of the governor, the federal government, to provide, with a view to providing a lasting solution to the Plateau State crisis.
Okay.
Yes.
And from The Guardian, is any story there we look at before we move on?
Yes, from The Guardian, there is a news here that Agbakoba
Okay, tasked
tasked
Tinubu
on new constitution. I think Agbakoba, I think he's a professor, Sam. Olisa Agbakoba. His move so far has been commendable because President Tinubu, while he started on a good note, but it's also important that some legal minds like Agbakoba keep driving him positively, setting the agenda for the government so that they don't just rest on their oars. Now he's talking about a new constitution. Everybody knows when President Jonathan was in office, there was a national conference with a view to having a new constitution. And now it's almost needed now in order to, remove some hindrances placed on the Nigerian people by the military constitution. So I thank Dr. Olisa Agbakoba for that.
Okay. Now let's move to the Vanguard newspapers. And virtually all the papers we are seeing here had the pictures of the explosion that happened in Ibadan, showing that what actually happened is not, is not a small thing. This is just a part of what we are seeing, where who knows how it will look like when we go there physically. We pray that God, consoles the people affected.
Amen.
Now, we see other stories there. Kidnapping will make Abuja too hot for criminals. That's coming from Wike, the FCT minister. Says enough is enough. Slams informants. You won't sleep well again. Okay, let's see. We keep our fingers crossed. Because the way the thing is going now, going to farm houses to kidnap people. Buhari defends Emefiele on Naira redesign, Forex backlog, CBN uncovers abuses, vows sanctions. Okay, and let's also take a look at the next paper, The Nation newspaper. Ibadan explosions, 3 dead, 77 injured, 58 houses damaged. Okay, how explosives boomed by residents. Okay, and NECO case hike in electricity tariff. Jimo Ibrahim rallies support in Davos for Tinubu's policies. Edopol, Igodalo joint race as LP pegs form at 30 million naira. CBN to crack down on Forex violators. All right, let's see. Which of the stories are you looking at?
From the Vanguard, it says that the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, has he said he will make Abuja too hot for criminals. And I think it's a very good statement coming from the FCT minister because recent reports has shown that the insecurity in Abuja increased, surprisingly. And I'm happy that Nyesom Wike, who is the minister, is back fully in Abuja because some people were thinking he's fully focused on only Rivers politics. But,
actually, people criticized him. Maybe that was what led to his calling the meeting he called yesterday.
Yes, which is good because it's very important that he focuses on FCT because that is the capital of Nigeria, and such stories should not be heard in our capital, not anywhere else. But I'm happy that Nyesom Wike, who we all like and hate at the same time, is fully focused on his job now. It's a good one.
Okay. I don't know. This on the Nation newspaper, this hike in electricity tariff sector to get 1.6 trillion naira subsidy. That NEC has okayed it. I don't know how the effect this will have on average Nigerian, going by what we are already faced with, that the challenge of a rise in cost of goods and services, food. People find it difficult to feed now, and this one is also coming at this time.
Well, Nigerians have really suffered under the, electricity increases. And the one that was done, I think it was last year, I was thinking it will be the last time electricity will be increased. But like the news says that NEC has okayed the hike. We can only pray that the hike will not be too much in order to reduce the suffering of Nigerians. Because things are very expensive for everybody, for the masses. And the NEC should do their best to either reduce it only slightly or leave it as it were, or even reduce it. Nigerians will jubilate if they ever hear that anything that went up finally went down. So they can even reduce it and make our people happy. But it's a very troubling situation, and Nigerians are really trying to cope.
And I don't know if our country, most of our leaders travel out and they see how things are done in other countries. For example, if you're a citizen of US or UK, even when you don't have the money, your child can go to school and later the child will pay. And there are so many things you can do even without money at hand, but that is not done here. And don't you think this, makes the hardship to be greater on the people, because you'll be thinking of your child going to school, you'll be thinking of feeding, clothing, housing, and everything. Are there not ways they can learn some things that are done in developed countries and bring it down here to cushion? Because when you say you want to cushion the effects of subsidy removal on the masses, they should be able to feel it. Yeah. Than saying that you give somebody 8,000 naira or 30,000 naira as a way of cushioning effect. At the same time, prices of things are going up. So I don't know. Are we not conflicting ourselves in this situation?
Yes, I think Nigerians should be hopeful, and that this new government will get it right. Because from what you said, our leaders travel to other countries and see how well planned it is. But the fault is not only that of our leaders. We also have a problem of followers, the common people. A lot of Nigerians don't like things going in an orderly manner. So it's from the people that the leaders emerge. So we need a total value orientation in Nigeria. If not, we keep electing leaders from our fold that will not have such a mindset to make things work.
All right, let's see the last paper, but not the least, the Daily Sun newspaper. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the Daily Sun. 2023 presidency, Soyinka, there were plots to annul election. Brandt LP vice presidential candidates interview disgraceful. Suspension of royal father, Igwe Achebe accuses Soludo of disrespect for monarchs, with a rider, Orobo Reps member, condemn attack on petty traders. Court nullifies provisions of broadcasting code, empowering NBC to impose fines on broadcasters. IPOB calls for dismantling of illegal checkpoints in Southeast. Gunmen kill 2 immigration officers in Kebbi, 1 in Ebonyi. Tension grips Plateau as fresh attack claims 2. Tinubu approves 5 billion naira grant for 185 TET fund researchers. Obi flays 3 billion naira for verification of national register. Ibadan blast. Okay, we've seen that so many times. Okay, let's see? Which of the stories?
The first story here, Soyinka, that there were plots to annul the 2023 election. I think he should come out more openly and, tell us the people involved, and so that it can be looked into, and not just saying that there were plots to annul the election. Because that election held, it was not even postponed, and it was largely peaceful. So Soyinka should do better than pointing fingers, in my opinion. He's a respected elder statesman. And then on the suspension of the royal father, he says Igwe Achebe accuses Governor Soludo of disrespect for monarchs. I think this issue has been raging in Anambra State, and it requires dialogue. The traditional rulers and the state government should sit down and talk some of these things out, because a lot of people are not in the room when such decisions were made. And I think both the government and the traditional rulers are people that the masses, the citizens, look up to. So when they are fighting dirty in public like this, I wonder what the ordinary citizens should do when they have their own little problems. So they should sit down and dialogue it out, and Anambra people will benefit from that.
Okay, you talked about killings in Jos. When you started hearing when you were much younger. Now, there's another story here that tension grips Plateau on fresh attack, as fresh attack claims to. Remember, I think the attack happened in December, 2 consecutive times in December, and now we are seeing another story. I don't know what to say again concerning this issue of killings in Jos Plateau State.
Well, I think part of what can solve this kind of killings is the issue of state police. This issue has been discussed so many times, and the Southwest governors were able to provide a Amotekun, and they seem to be the only people that have been able to successfully do such a thing. But I believe that state police will help solve this problem, because what the governor of Plateau is saying is that there is sabotage somewhere. So, but if he has the apparatus of a state police that can have some level of arms, they can be able to, resist those attackers. So that is my opinion. State police should be implemented across the land.
He's the one accusing the military. Where the military say they are going to investigate the allegation or something.
Yeah, he's not accusing the military per se. He's saying there are
generally
there are some people, moles, that are sabotaging. That when there are calls that there is a security problem, some people will block it or refuse to act on it. So the military should investigate, and
they have promised to do that.
Yeah, they have promised, and I believe they will.
All right, I think that's the much you can take on the press review for this morning. Would like to appreciate you so much, George Eche Obiokoye.
I'm an engineer.
Okay, Engineer George Eche. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. And that's it on the press review. We have more coming up on Good Morning Anambra. Please do stay.